I want to start with this. That the Christmas story and all that came after it wasn't just for the Jewish people of the day. It wasn't just relevant for that. It wasn't just what came out of the Jewish people, for sure, even though Jesus was a Jew. That's the culture he was born into. It was, as the Christmas angel said, for the whole world, for all people. All people. It was relevant to all people. And what he brought wasn't a Jewish message. It wasn't even a Christian message. It wasn't a Western message. It was a message for all people. It was a universal message that did not deny the truth of any culture or any religion, any faith of anyone anywhere on the earth at that time or since. It actually affirmed what is true of all people. That's one of the injustices that the Christian church has brought to the world, is that they've owned it as their own and sought to deny, sought to negate the experience of spirituality of people around the world. I want to ask you this. So as you think of the Christmas story and what you know of the story of Jesus' life, as you think of the Gospels and the New Testament, the story that's represented there, who is the protagonist of the story? Would you say? In a way, the apparent answer is Jesus. It's a story about Jesus. I want to bring another possibility. It was a story of us. So if you think of the story as not being about what he did, but about what we did, or about what we do or don't do, the protagonist of the story is us. The story looks different from that perspective. From a more traditional Christian perspective, it's all about what he did, died for our sins, and on it goes. Who he was, what he did, and obviously that's a primary feature of the story. But early on in the story, there's something interesting that's portrayed. He had to deal in his own consciousness that it was about him. It's called the temptations. If you be the Son of God, make these stones bread. It's up to you. You're the protagonist of the story. You've got to make it happen. And he rejected that. Totally rejected that. And determined that he was simply going to be himself in the world and all the glory of who he was. The question was, what were we going to do? And then if you look at what we did as humankind, not too good. Not too good. And I say, the same is true today. The story is about us. We're the protagonist in this story. Humanity is the protagonist of the story on planet Earth. What are we going to do? Here he was, this spiritual teacher, we'll call him, in this amazing position of bringing something to people that could change them. Isn't that what a teacher does, right? A teacher comes to, yes, teach, people learn, but ultimately, particularly for spiritual teaching, what's being brought is metanoia, what the Greeks called metanoia, which is a change of heart and mind, transformation. He came to bring the opportunity for that. And people have been applauding ever since. Now, the opportunity he brought, his teaching, wouldn't have much impact if people didn't applaud, or in other words, honor what he brought and receive it. So he had to bring it, and it did have to be honored. If you were a teacher, picture yourself teaching, and your student somewhere into the semester starts telling you what a great teacher you are, but they're not doing their homework. You're a great teacher, but the homework isn't getting done. That's my metaphorical representation of Christianity. Great job, Jesus, great job. But are we doing our homework? And then, if you consider the challenge that he had, by the very nature of being a spiritual teacher, it was to bring something ineffable, invisible, and then something that had yet to fully present itself in human experience, to bring something invisible, not something physical, to people for them to experience. Hard job. Hard job. And one of the resistances of accepting the teaching is to interpret everything he said in physical terms. You're missing the point. It's not about something physical. It is about something spiritual. Heaven is a spiritual thing. It makes it easy to say, oh, it's that place you go to after you die. It's almost like a physical thing or a physical place up there. No, it's not a physical thing. It is a spiritual thing. It is an invisible thing. God is the same way. God is not an old guy with a beard up in the sky. What that word refers to is something invisible, an invisible presence of being. And he was trying to convey that. He did convey it. But was it heard and received? And then did people do their homework? So what is the homework? What is the homework? The homework is the process of metanoia, of changing, of learning, changing, transforming, incorporating, and then becoming an expression of. I'm going to guess, haven't interviewed you all, I'm going to guess that most people in this room have had an experience of encountering something spiritual in whatever way. I can't believe you'd put up with me or be in this room here if you hadn't had something like that experience. Okay. Now, what Jane said is, it's on you. It's on me. We're the protagonist here. It's on us. What are we going to do? Just the fact that somebody came along or we encountered some experience, that is not what in the end tells the tale. What tells the tale is metanoia, our change. I want to put it in these terms, that it is, if we've had that encounter, a lifetime project to allow what we've encountered of this invisible reality, to allow it to penetrate us so that it can change us, to allow it to come in to heart and mind, become the breastplate and the helmet, and then radiate into the world. Lifetime project. Lifetime project to let it in. It's not, you might say, it's not easy. It's not easy in the sense that you have to find the gateways in your own awareness for it to come in. You have to find how it gets in, and then let it in, let it change you, and then let it create in you the instruments of its expression. The first time somebody encounters something like that, do you think they automatically, instantly can give it like multifaceted, full expression as a human being? That's not how it works. Baby is born into the world, beautiful, pure, incredible, right? The essence of it all is right there, nothing to be added in that sense. And yet it's going to take years, decades for that baby to develop the capacity to express who they are in the world. Christians talk about being reborn. Yeah, that's great, being reborn. But if you're a baby in an experience of something, you have to develop the capacity to express what you've experienced. You have to work to let it in, and then form in you the forms of consciousness that create the breastplate and the helmet. Lifetime commitment. Ooh, that's hard. But what else are we doing here? But I mean, that is the adventure of a human life. And the thing is that if you do that, if you let it in and let it build in you the capacity for it to live in you and then express through you as you, then you're not just doing it for yourself. You're developing the capacity to share what you're knowing with the world. If you have a dramatic spiritual experience, the first thing you blurt out to other people might not be that compelling or understandable because you don't yet have the capacity to share what you've experienced. And so we have this lifetime journey of learning and transformation so that we may mature. As it's said in the Gospels about Jesus, he grew in grace and stature. There's this little verse in the middle of the Gospel someplace. It talks about how he grew in grace and stature. To me, that's an almost poetic description of the journey that I'm describing. We get to grow in grace and stature. We get to become an outer manifestation, the human being who expresses and embodies the truth of what we've touched, which is the truth of who we are. We've been speaking about the supreme soul. In traditional human thinking, it's very much a physical kind of thinking, at a physical plane of things. If you are, I'm not, right? Because it's a physical reality. Quantum physics has begun to tell us that the way we think of the physical world is not really the way the world is. But we didn't have to wait for the quantum physicists to tell us that. Jesus' own teaching was a teaching of oneness. Of oneness. His prayers were filled with, "Thou in me, and me in you, and me in them, and them with us." It was oneness. It wasn't, "I'm the big cheese. I'm the big cheese who's come into the world to save the world." No, it was a teaching of oneness. We're all one here. We're one soul family. And I'm here to bring the heart and soul of the soul family to the soul family. Not to be the big cheese of the soul family, my goodness. To bring the heart and soul of the soul family. And to include the whole soul family in himself. He apparently had the ability to do that. So when we are allowing ourselves to be penetrated with the spiritual reality that we're touching, yes, it's our own true selfhood. It is us. And yet we're not a separate reality from everybody else. And we're not separate from the supreme soul, the heart and soul of our whole human family. When we're giving expression to that heart and soul, we are giving expression to ourselves. And if we're giving expression to ourselves, we're giving expression to that because we are part of the soul family. We can't express who we are without expressing the name of the soul family. We're proclaiming who we all are by proclaiming who we are. We're saying we're all the Christ. This is the Christ family, the human family. When we're true to who we are, it works both ways. Yes, we could start with the larger picture, and we could start with ourselves. But if you start with one, you go to the other. At least if you're open to have the experience. Well, there's our 15 minutes. Should say something about this new year, what this new year is about. What's it about for you? What's this year about for you? I was thinking this. Do you have the perfect circumstances for this coming year in your life? The perfect circumstances? My guess is none of us do. And yet here we are. And we could count all the ways it doesn't seem perfect to us. And yet here we are. And in the dark streets shineth the everlasting light. That's us. In the middle of the circumstances, exactly as they are. We're here. And that's what makes it perfect. And you could think of people of great honor throughout history. You could think of the founding fathers of this country. A lot of them lost their lives. They signed that Declaration of Independence, and they ended up losing their lives, and they knew they might. John Hancock, I think he was the first signature, and he wrote it big and bold. We even now talk about someone's John Hancock because he wrote it big and bold to show the courage. Perfect circumstance? No, but in those dark streets was the everlasting light coming through those people. Jesus, did he face perfect circumstances? Oh my God. No, but he was the everlasting light in the face of those circumstances. And we could name so many people through history that are like that. And here we are, perfect circumstances. It is because I'm here. I'm here to take this and to take what's present in the circumstance that gives the opportunity for the everlasting light to find expression and create. I'm here to see what has come and use what has come to me in my life, just as is true for all of us, and to use those things to allow for an expression of the everlasting light. And I would say, to the greatest degree possible. And we'll see how possible that is. And we'll see how possible it is in this coming year, 2024.